Imagine waking up one morning, the gentle spring sunlight filtering through your curtains, a fragrant espresso in hand, and the realization that you've built a life to be proud of, a thriving career, a cozy little home, and dreams slowly turning into reality. But then, a sudden phone call from the family you love most, the ones you've sacrificed everything to support, shatters it all. They don't just reject you, they say your very existence is a disgrace, a stain on their perfect image. What would you do? Keep your head down, silently carrying the burden, or stand up and reclaim your worth? This is the story of Emily Harper, a 32-year-old woman who chose to stand up, and her journey will keep you captivated. Stick around until the end, because the moment the truth comes to light will leave you gasping, unbelievable. If you've ever felt overlooked in your own family, this story will touch your heart, stir your deepest emotions, and make you reflect on your own value. Emily Harper, 32, lives in a small town called Willow Creek, about 45 minutes from Boston. Each morning, she starts her day with a rich espresso brewed in a machine she bought at a fair in Florence, Italy, 3 years ago. She turns on the radio, listening to the warm voice of the weather forecaster, then walks along Willow Creek's cobblestone streets, where maple trees blaze red in autumn and small cafes fill the air with the scent of fresh pastries. Her office, the headquarters of Pacific Biotech, is just a few blocks from her home, housed in a sleek glass building with a view of the sparkling Charles River. As co-founder of Pacific Biotech, a biotech startup focused on cutting-edge medical solutions, Emily has poured her youth into building her dream. Her work isn't easy to explain, especially to those who think an office job means just typing data all day. But for Emily, it's sleepless nights resolving crises, million-dollar contracts, and breakthroughs that redefine how the world views healthcare. Pacific Biotech isn't just a company, it's Emily's brainchild, created with her 3 college friends, Rachel and Gwen, a brilliant biochemist with long black hair and a radiant smile, Michael Carter, a data expert with a knack for humor but occasional lapses in focus, and David Patel, a talented software engineer who turns complex ideas into reality. Pacific Biotech's journey began in a cramped dorm room at MIT, where 4 young friends huddled around an old wooden table, sketching diagrams on paper and debating late into the night about creating a new drug to treat blood cancer more effectively. The early days were grueling. They faced dozens of rejections from investors, nearly went bankrupt after a failed clinical trial, and endured skepticism from industry veterans. A group of fresh graduates trying to revolutionize healthcare? Naive, one investor scoffed during a pitch. But Emily didn't give up. She spent 3 straight days in the office fixing trial data errors, persuading investors with hard numbers and burning passion. 8 years later, Pacific Biotech boasts 50 employees, a sleek Boston headquarters, and a recent $5 million funding round from a prestigious New York venture capital firm. Despite her remarkable achievements, Emily never bragged. She dressed simply, usually a white blouse, jeans, and comfortable sneakers. She wore minimal makeup, kept her hair in a neat high ponytail, and always carried an old laptop that had been with her since the startup's earliest days. Her humility, however, led to misunderstandings with her family. To them, Emily was forever the odd little sister, always busy with things no one understood, never fitting their image of the perfect daughter they expected. Emily's family, her father, Robert Harper, her mother, Linda Harper, and her older sister, Sophia Bennett, lived in a small town called Fairview, Connecticut, about 3 hours from Willow Creek. Robert, a retired banker, was tall and thin with a stern voice. Linda, a homemaker, was known in town for her homemade butter cookies sold at local fairs. Sophia, 3 years older than Emily, was the family's pride. With her golden blonde hair, charming smile, and soft voice, Sophia drew every eye at family gatherings. At Christmas or Thanksgiving dinners, relatives fawned over her, praising her dresses, her job, or her latest boyfriend, often a lawyer, doctor, or CEO. "Sophia, that dress is gorgeous." "Where'd you get it?" Or "Sophia, I heard your new boyfriend's a CFO, impressive," were common refrains. And Emily? If she was lucky, she got a half-hearted comment, "Oh, Emily, she does something with biotech, right?" Emily once believed that if she worked hard and quietly carried the load, her family would one day see her worth. She didn't need Sophia's spotlight, just a nod, a small acknowledgement. But no, all the attention, expectations, and praise went to Sophia. Emily was just a faint shadow, a footnote in the family story no one bothered to read. For over 3 years, Emily quietly supported her family financially. Each month, she wired $2,500 to cover electricity, water, internet, health insurance, and even car repairs or new appliances for her parents. In total, she spent over $92,350, a significant sum, especially when Pacific Biotech was still growing, and Emily herself lived in a modest apartment with minimal furnishings, a gray sofa, a wooden coffee table, and a bookshelf packed with medical journals. Her parents never asked if she could afford it. They just said, "Sophia's struggling with a job transition, so help out if you can." And Emily helped, without complaint, as if it were her duty. She remembered the time her mother called at midnight, panicked, "Emily, the bathroom pipe burst. Can you call a plumber? Sophia's on vacation with her boyfriend, so it's just you." Emily immediately contacted a plumber, paid $1,200 for new piping, and ensured everything was fixed before her mother woke up. Another time, her father called, "My car broke down, needs new tires. Can you send some money?" Emily transferred $800 instantly, even though she'd just paid a hefty sum to fix a company server crash. Emily's sacrifices went beyond money. She once missed a major tech conference in San Francisco, where she was invited as a keynote speaker, because her mother called, saying she needed Emily home to help organize their 35th wedding anniversary party. Emily flew to Fairview, spent 3 days preparing everything, ordering her mother's favorite chocolate cake, decorating the living room with flowers and balloons, and even driving to the airport to pick up her Aunt Margaret from Chicago. But at the party, no one mentioned her efforts. Instead, they talked about Sophia. "She just landed a big advertising contract, or Sophia looks like a model in that dress." Emily stood in the corner, forcing a smile, holding a glass of orange juice, and telling herself she'd at least done her duty. But the truth was, she didn't just sacrifice money or time. She sacrificed her self-respect, bit by bit, through every moment of being overlooked, through her family's careless remarks, "Emily, why don't you get a job that's easier to explain, like your sister, or you should learn to dress like Sophia, you always look so plain." Each comment was a small cut, and Emily learned to endure them, believing family was a place she could always return to. She had moments of self-doubt, too. One night, after working until 2 a.m., Emily sat alone in her office, staring at a laptop screen flashing financial figures. She wondered, why am I doing all this? For recognition? Or just to prove I'm not invisible? But she pushed the thought aside, opened her email, and kept responding to investors. She couldn't stop, not because she needed validation, but because Pacific Biotech was her dream, her source of meaning when her family offered none. Emily had a close friend from high school, Sarah Thompson, a freelance journalist living in Boston. Sarah was the only one who understood the pressures Emily faced. During a coffee meetup in Willow Creek, Sarah once said, "Emily, you can't keep giving without getting anything back. Your family doesn't see what you do, and that's not fair." Emily just smiled and shrugged, "I'm used to it. They're family, what can I do?" But deep down, she knew Sarah was right. She just wasn't ready to face that truth. Everything changed one late March day, after Emily closed a successful $5 million funding round for Pacific Biotech. It was a major milestone, not just for the money, but because it proved her and her team's relentless work had paid off. Investors who once doubted a young woman like Emily now sent congratulatory emails and invited her to major conferences. To celebrate, she decided to take 3 days off and fly to Fairview to help organize her mother's 60th birthday, as she did every year. She called her father, excited, "I'll come early to help with Mom's birthday. Need me to pick up anything? I can order a cake or flowers if you want." But her father, Robert, sounded cold and distant. After a pause, he said, "Emily, don't come this year." She froze, thinking she'd misheard. "What did you say?" "I've already arranged my schedule, I want to be there." This time, his voice was firmer. "Sophia's bringing her new boyfriend to meet us. He's a CFO, very successful. Your job, it's hard to explain. Your presence would lead to comparisons, making things awkward. It's best if you stay away." Emily felt like a knife had pierced her chest. She gripped the phone, struggling to keep her voice steady. "You mean I'd embarrass the family? I shouldn't come because I'm a failure?" Robert didn't deny it. "Instead," he said, "if you insist on coming, don't call me Dad anymore." Then he hung up. Emily's apartment fell silent. The espresso on her table had gone cold. She sank into an armchair, the spring sunlight streaming through the curtains but unable to dispel the chill in her heart. She stared out the window at the swaying branches and, for the first time, realized she was no longer part of the family she'd fought to hold on to. Her father's words echoed, "Don't call me Dad anymore." It wasn't just a sentence, it was a complete rejection, as if she'd never been his daughter. She stood, walked to her desk, and opened her laptop. Her bank transaction history appeared, filled with familiar figures: $234.50 for last month's electricity, $178.20 for water, $256.80 for internet and cable, $1,200 for health insurance, $3,000 for a new fridge. Total, $92,350 over 3 years. Not a single thank you, not a single check-in. Just endless demands, as if she were a machine programmed to comply. Emily hovered her mouse over automatic payments. With one click, she canceled them all. A notification popped up, "Cancellation successful." No chime, no warning, just silence. She closed her laptop, stepped onto her balcony, and breathed in the cool spring evening air. For the first time in years, she felt a strange relief, as if an invisible tether had been cut. Her mother's birthday arrived. Emily didn't call, didn't send a card, didn't post a social media tribute. She sat on her balcony, sipping mint tea, watching the trees sway in the yard. Her small but cozy apartment was filled with little touches of warmth, small green plants on the windowsill, a blue wool rug Sarah gave her last birthday. Her phone started buzzing at 5 p.m. A text from her mother: "Emily, the power's out. Can you check on it? Today's important." Then from her father: "No water, no internet. Call the providers now." And from Sophia: "Emily, it's Mom's birthday. She's about to cry. The internet's down, guests are arriving. What are you doing?" Emily read each message but didn't reply. She set her phone down, took another sip of tea. She didn't feel smug or guilty. She felt at peace, as if for the first time she was allowed to be herself, not the family's fixer. She thought about the past years, late nights paying family bills, missed career opportunities to meet their demands, consoling herself that they'd eventually understand. But now, she realized family isn't always a safe haven, sometimes, it's a place you must learn to leave. She recalled an evening a few months earlier, at a mental health seminar in Boston. A speaker, Dr. Helen Carter, her former MIT professor, had said, "You can't save others if you don't save yourself. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's how you protect your inner light." Those words stuck with Emily, but only now, after her father's blunt rejection, did she truly grasp their meaning. The next morning, while reviewing reports at her office, Emily received an email titled "New York to Boston Personnel Transfer." Among the new hires, one name caught her eye: Ethan Mitchell, 35, CFO, relocating from New York to Boston headquarters. Approved by Emily Harper, co-founder, Pacific Biotech. She gave a faint smile. Ethan Mitchell, the name her mother had mentioned weeks earlier, Sophia's new boyfriend, very successful, a CFO. She scanned his profile: Wharton MBA, 10 years in finance, a perfect on-paper man, just Sophia's type. But the kicker: Ethan would report directly to Emily. She recalled a brief meeting with Ethan at a New York finance conference 6 months ago. He'd shaken her hand, called her Ms. Harper politely, neither aware of the Sophia connection. Now, fate had come full circle. That afternoon, an unexpected video call came from Aunt Margaret, the only family member who still sent Emily Christmas cards. Margaret, a retired teacher with silver hair and warm eyes, was the relative Emily felt closest to. When Emily answered, the screen showed her family's darkened Fairview kitchen, lit only by a phone flashlight. Margaret looked tired, her voice soft. "Emily, your mom's in a panic. The power's out, guests are arriving. What's going on?" Before Emily could respond, her mother's voice cut in from the background. "She's probably sulking about something. Who'd be cruel enough to do this?" Then Sophia, "Ethan's almost here. Someone call the electric company. I can't believe Emily's doing this today." Sophia's voice was shrill, as if she were the victim of a conspiracy. Suddenly, a new face appeared on the screen. Ethan Mitchell, in a crisp suit, stared at Emily through the camera. His jaw dropped slightly. "Emily Harper? You're Emily Harper, co-founder of Pacific Biotech?" The kitchen went silent. Relatives' whispers stopped. Her mother, Linda, froze, a plate of cookies slipping from her hand and clattering onto the table. Her father, Robert, stared at the screen, his face flushing red. Sophia's mouth fell open, as if she'd been slapped. Emily gave a slight smile, her voice calm. "Hi, Ethan. I hope your introduction today goes well. I look forward to working with you in Boston." Then she ended the call, leaving the family's kitchen in awkward silence. After the call, messages from her family flooded in like a storm. Sophia sent a long, angry text. "Emily, why didn't you say you were Ethan's boss? You deliberately humiliated us, didn't you? Mom's been crying all night. Do you know how important today was for me?" Her mother wrote, "Are you doing this to punish us? Just pay the internet bill, and everything would have been fine." Her father sent a short, cold message. "You've shamed the whole family. Call back now." Emily read each message but didn't reply. She brewed a cup of ginger tea, sat on her sofa, and let the warmth of the mug soothe her chest. She didn't feel triumphant or guilty. She felt relieved, as if an invisible weight had lifted. She didn't need to explain or justify herself. The truth had spoken for itself, not through her words, but through the moment Ethan recognized who she was. A few days later, Ethan entered Emily's office, holding a stack of documents. He looked nervous but maintained professionalism. "Ms. Harper," he began, his voice slightly shaky, "I didn't know you were Sophia's sister. After that day, I've thought a lot. I can't continue my relationship with her. I realized she's not who I thought she was. She always wants everything to be perfect but doesn't respect those around her." Emily nodded, her voice steady. "Ethan, you don't need to explain. Everyone's responsible for how they perceive others. I just expect us to work professionally here." He nodded, left the room, and never brought up personal matters again. Emily knew Ethan's decision to end things wasn't just about the birthday fiasco but because he'd seen a side of Sophia she'd carefully hidden behind her smile and polished appearance. Meanwhile, at Pacific Biotech, Emily faced a new challenge. A competitor, BioNova, tried to steal research data on a new drug her team was developing. A former Pacific Biotech employee, James Larson, had joined BioNova, taking some internal information with him. Emily discovered the breach when an anonymous email warned that BioNova was preparing to announce a similar drug. She immediately rallied her team, working around the clock to secure data and accelerate trials. During this, James reached out, offering to collaborate to avoid a costly legal battle. Emily refused flatly. "We don't compromise with those who betray trust." This crisis highlighted Emily's leadership. She not only protected the company's data but also secured a new contract with a major Boston hospital, ensuring funding for the drug project. Rachel, her close friend and co-founder, hugged her after a tense meeting. "You're the strongest person I know, Emily. Don't ever let anyone make you doubt that." A week after the birthday incident, Sophia showed up unannounced at Emily's Willow Creek apartment. She wore a bright red coat, her hair disheveled, her eyes red from crying. "Emily, I need to talk to you," Sophia said, her voice trembling. Emily let her in but offered no hug or warm greeting. They sat across from each other in the living room, the air heavy like the calm before a storm. "You ruined everything," Sophia began, her tone accusatory. "You knew Ethan was my boyfriend, but you didn't say you were his boss. You deliberately humiliated me in front of the family, didn't you? Mom's been crying for a week, do you even know?" Emily met Sophia's gaze, her voice calm but firm. "Sophia, I didn't do anything. I didn't call Aunt Margaret, didn't ask Ethan to join the call, and didn't mention my job. The truth came out on its own, and if that humiliated you, maybe you should ask yourself why." Sophia burst into tears, but not out of remorse. "You don't get it, Emily. I needed Ethan. He was my chance to settle down, to make Mom and Dad proud. Now he's dumped me, and everyone blames me. You're his boss, you could say something to make him change his mind." Emily shook her head. "Ethan didn't dump you because of me. He left because he saw the real you. And you, Sophia, never asked if I was okay, never thanked me for what I did for the family. For 3 years, I spent over $90,000 on bills, car repairs, a new fridge. But no one, not even you, ever said thank you. You only remembered me when you needed something." Sophia froze, speechless. She stood, wiped her tears, and left without another word. Emily closed the door, feeling a different kind of relief, not from winning, but from finally speaking the truth she'd held inside for too long. A few days later, Emily's parents showed up at her door. Her mother, Linda, clutched a small bag, looking weary with deeper wrinkles around her eyes. Her father, Robert, stood with arms crossed, his face rigid. "Sweetie," Linda said, "can we talk for a bit?" They sat in the living room. Robert spoke first. "About your mom's birthday, I said things I shouldn't have. Sophia's a mess after her breakup, your mom's been crying. We want to talk as a family." Emily stayed silent, waiting. As expected, Linda continued, "We have a proposal. You're doing well, good job. If possible, we'd like you to contribute $3,000 a month for living expenses and retirement savings." Emily looked them in the eye. "What about Sophia?" Linda hesitated. "Your sister's struggling. She just lost her job and the breakup. We can't pressure her." Emily laughed, not bitterly, but because it was all so familiar. She said, her voice steady, "If Sophia contributes $1,500, I'll cover the rest. But I want a clear contract. When you both pass, all assets, including the house, go to me." The living room fell silent. Robert slammed his hand on the table. "You dare set conditions on your parents? We raised you for over 20 years. Emily didn't flinch. "Dad, I don't owe anything. I've spent over $90,000 on the family without a single thank you. If you want my help, it needs to be clear." Linda tugged at Robert's arm, her voice shaky. "Maybe we should discuss this later." But Robert stormed out, muttering, "Unbelievable." Emily saw them to the door, no hug, no goodbye. As the door closed, she felt another chapter end, and this time, she wrote the final line. After that day, her family stopped contacting her. No texts, no calls, not even an apology. But Emily wasn't surprised. She was used to their silence, not the silence of regret, but of those who don't know what to say when they've lost control. Emily moved on with her life. Quiet mornings with coffee, late-night meetings, and contracts that propelled Pacific Biotech further. She no longer felt guilty saying no to her family. She removed their photo as her phone's wallpaper, forgot Sophia's birthday, stopped sending holiday gifts. She learned to draw her own line, not waiting for an apology. One rainy afternoon, Emily stopped by a familiar Willow Creek cafe where she often read or worked on weekends. A wooden sign on the wall read, "Home isn't always a place. Sometimes, it's a choice." She sat there, sipping a hot latte, reflecting on her journey. Once, she believed that with enough patience and sacrifice, her family would love her. But the truth was, if you let others grow accustomed to disrespecting you, they'll see your sacrifices as obligations and your silence as consent. Emily chose to stand up, not to fight her family, but to protect herself. She set boundaries, not out of selfishness, but because she finally understood her worth couldn't be defined by others' pity or fleeting needs. She joined a Boston support group for young people dealing with family pressures. There, she met Anna, a new Pacific Biotech employee also struggling with being her family's fixer. Emily mentored Anna, helping her learn to say no and reclaim her value. Through Anna, Emily realized she wasn't alone, and her journey could inspire others. Emily Harper's story is a powerful reminder: no one is obligated to sacrifice themselves for a relationship labeled family if it lacks respect. When you learn to set boundaries, choose self-love, and stop letting kindness be exploited, that's not selfishness, it's growth. Emily didn't seek revenge. She chose dignified silence to affirm her worth. And sometimes, the strongest act is the first step toward true peace. She stepped out of her family's shadow, not by shouting or accusing, but by living as her true self. What do you think of Emily's choice? Was she too harsh, or was she just protecting herself after years of hurt? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be a light for someone torn between duty and freedom. And stay tuned for more profound stories about rediscovering yourself.